We
lit over here.
we're rolling, and O.D.W.W's episode 2. We're gonna
Hey,
be we're gonna be talking about the crazy stock situation with GameStop, and that's gonna segue into how faulty the launch was with Cyberpunk 2077, and then after that, we're gonna talk about our thoughts of WandaVision. So let's get started. I'm Sean. Just
hey.
beside me is Matthew, and below us is Shay.
hmm
Yeah,
Glad to be back.
yeah,
Glad to
yeah,
be
yeah.
back. Thank you for
All
having,
right,
or thanks. Glad to have y'all back. But yeah, let's get into it. So
all right.
everyone that doesn't know, like pretty much the whole stocks, like Wall Street Bets, a group on Reddit, like a media discussion platform for the most part. Like a lot of members got together and saw that GameStop stocks were about to like drop for the most part. Like they already did like a 72% drop to where they were at 18%, and then like pretty much the company was about to go bankrupt. And people love the games, like power to the players type shit. So yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I always think of like the little rabbit thing whenever the power.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
What
it's a little
membership
mascot.
shit? Oh
No,
yeah.
it was a little like rabbit thing. It doesn't matter, but not the what's it called? But no, when just in regards to the whole GameStop thing, you had a lot of shorters that were they were buying stock, and they were obviously banking on the company going bankrupt so that they basically don't have to return any of the shares that they borrowed. So, I mean, for those that don't know, there you borrow like $10 in shares, you have $10 to use. So if it drops to 3, they just have to pay that share back. They just made $7 in profit. So you have a lot of these billionaire hedge funds, they're putting thousands upon thousands, just huge, massive investments in, and they're making a lot in profit. And it's just it's so one sided, and it's really just the rich that are benefiting from it, not us, because these brokerages restricted us from even investing in GameStop after seeing what's happened for the rich. It's just it's corrupt. It's corrupt for me, and I honestly I feel like just taking out whatever I had with Robinhood and kind of like reconsidering, you know, the brokerages that I've bought stocks through. It's weird. So
Shayon, you got any piece of information for us?
Um, I just think that like like it's funny because like I saw this video of what's the CEO of Nas? What is it? Nas? What is it?
Nasdaq.
Nasdaq. Yeah. He was asking for regulations, and it's really funny because that's he is the last person that would want regulation when it comes to stocks and stuff. But if you watch the video, it's actually really funny. He's like stuttering and mumbling the entire time because he's nervous. People in his group don't want to ask for regulations. That's not something that they want to do. Like that's the last thing they would want to do because that's where they lose money if they ask for regulations. And so but it's also nice because it shows that with the little amount of billionaires and millionaires, even the small people, everyday people like you and me, can break such a we can just break such a big fucking establishment. Like we literally like fucking they lost billions when a bunch of people from fucking Reddit were just dropping money on fucking they were dropping like Wall Street money on the fucking GameStop, and it was funny.
True.
And you know I just I think they're scared now because they thought oh, we're billionaires, they can they can't do something like that wasn't even I feel like that wasn't even like a thought in their minds that like everyday people like us could make them lose billions, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
crazy.
mm,
But it's also I think I don't know, I think from here on out things will definitely be changing. There will definitely be more regulations now. considering this happened, because after fucking after that they were gonna go after GameStop they were gonna go for AMC and GMC. I know a bunch of those fucking went up as well. I bought a couple of AMC stocks when I heard that shit going up because I was like, fuck yeah, free money, dude. Time to get, this is the time to get your cash if you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, like certain companies would just be left to themselves to like kind of just die off. A lot of people are suffering from COVID. Others have adjusted, and then like other companies like Walmart, Target, like they're open, doing everything they're used to doing, but now they got COVID regulations and stuff, or restrictions. But yeah, like I don't know who's paid attention to it, but like the airports, like I don't know, I can't name the airlines exactly, but a lot of them got bailed out with like a couple $1 billion from the government and stuff like that. But like, I know, like, yeah, airports versus like GameStop is like two different companies or two different, altogether. But it's interesting, yeah.
It is. I mean, honestly, honestly, this pandemic is like, it's a lot scarier for just everything, because I feel like this pandemic will, even once we come out of it, I still feel like a year into it, people are still going to be wearing masks. Like, I feel like that's just going to be a thing now where people are going to be still wearing a mask for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, comfortability.
Like it's, I don't want to compare it to anything crazy, but certain tragic events that happen, people are on edge, like when shit like happens in the States. So I feel like this is just another thing where like people are just going to be on edge for a while. People that like, truly, wear their mask knowing, if they go out, to be careful and shit like that. I got a bunny on my Snapchat, it's just his snaps are party, 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 and then the next snap is I got COVID, and then a week later, party, 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 So, there's people not taking it seriously, but I feel like everyone should, just to get, just so we can get it over with, man. So I want shit to go back to where they were, man.
And with this whole event, with you got the 99% versus the 1%, right? And a lot of people can agree that the rich, they will profit off of just everybody within the 99% failing. And this is a perfect example, because you have shorters, literally, they just want this company to fail. So it's even, I don't even know. It's messed up to me, where it's like, it's only the rich that are being protected. We lose money just like, oh, well, too bad. And then we're just supposed to suffer. We just suffer. So when the shoe's on the other foot, and literally, I've heard it many times, it's David versus Goliath. And I'm like, we obviously know how that story is gone. And, we see this whole thing unfold the way it has. And it's like, nobody's really concerned about the rich, because why would we be? They wouldn't be concerned about us. They wouldn't be concerned about those that are affected by, or that, people with less money that have invested in GameStop and they've lost all their money. And then you see Reddit and Wall Street bets. They're just like, nah, we don't want this company to fail. They want it to fail because they're going to make money. Nah, we want those that have made, investments in GameStop. We want those that are within the 99% that are, quite frankly, broke compared to a lot of these wealthy cats that work in Wall Street. We want them to actually succeed. Yeah. We want them to actually get a big return. So we're about to all invest, and we're going to have all these shares just ramp up in value. So a lot of these shorters are going to have to pay that back, and they're going to be losing possibly millions, maybe even billions. It's crazy. So honestly, I'm like, man, I could care less. They don't care about us. Why should we care about them? And it was a crazy thing to see, where I'm like, it's somebody's losing, right? And for once, it's the rich, the wealthy. Yeah. It's literally out of greed and boredom. That's what shorters do. They do that, and it's honestly, I'm like, bro, that's what happens. But yeah, with Robinhood and a lot of these other brokers, you're just like, oh well, it's because of this and because of that. That led us to the decision of restricting people from making investments. The market is supposed to be open, And when you hear
Exactly.
stuff like that, it's just so it just sounds corrupt to me. So that's where I'm like, look, man, uh, it that's what happens. That's what happens when you get caught doing something that it's shady. And I don't know, the way it unfolded, it really did. You know, it's just ironic how you hear about Robin Hood, and then quite literally, you're robbing the rich and you're helping the poor succeed. Like, and then you see Robin Hood actually restricting people from buying shares because they see what's happening. They were just protecting the rich. I don't know.
It's
It's such a
ironic.
flawed.
Type
Yeah,
stuff.
it's so ironic.
Yeah.
It's ironic across the board. It's a very complex.
Yeah.
It's a very complex sort of thing to get into, like the stock market.
Yeah.
It's
It's
definitely.
online gambling, bro. It's online casinos, man. Like people don't see it like that, but it's literally online gambling. Like that's basically what it is. Like when you go to a fucking brokerage, it's like, he has to basically like estimate if these stocks are gonna go down this time and this time. And maybe he's
Mhm.
right, maybe he's wrong. You know what I mean? So it really is online gambling. Like it really is. Like people like honestly like I'm surprised casinos are still a thing when fucking stocks are around, bro. That's honestly that's where the real money's at though, because like when with casinos that shit is rigged. You know what I mean? But like
Oh
with
yeah,
stocks, it's not rigged. You never. I mean, kinda. It is kinda rigged, but not to the full extent of like how casinos are because it's um you're you know you're better off making your money with stocks than you are going to a casino.
of course.
If that makes sense.
And
But
honestly,
honestly, funny enough, you brought up like the whole thing where like they're trying to regulate everyone. I just watched Hot Fuzz last night. You guys ever seen Hot Fuzz?
No, never
yeah,
heard of
I don't
Yeah,
remember
bro.
much of it though, but
Ah, shit. All right. Well, like everyone in the town, basically, like this cop goes from the city to like a small town, and the small town like kills everyone that tries to change the town, and hides them under the town. And it's the fucking funniest thing because like it's almost like the same thing. Like they're just trying to regulate everything to make this town perfect. Like the chief sergeant of the town, like the chief cop, is like saying like, "Oh, there hasn't been a murder in this town for 20 years. There has, but they've been covering it up." And it's the same thing with this shit, where it's like, you know, this hasn't happened where like the small guys have controlled the stocks instead of the big guys. So it's the same thing where like they're just trying to regulate it now, like the town was in Hot Fuzz, by just kind of cutting everything off. That's trying to change the stock market, basically. So it's
yeah,
kind of funny.
I think the main thing that like Wall Street and those high investors or stockbrokers weren't betting on was that people, the collective, like could get together and actually like work on something like this and like have that much power. Like literally like them being able to do this just shows like how much power like the people have. Like yeah, this is just GameStop and this is just one situation, but just think like you apply this to anything else and it could be the same result. Like yeah, there's like the 1%, the wealthy and all that, and like they have who they have, but like if we people get together and we all like, we don't have to all think alike. We never will. But like, if we can all agree on at least something, or if we feel the same way about something and we actually get together and we're willing to speak up for like how we feel about it or take action at least, then like definitely in the long run, we'll be able to make change. So
yeah.
And what's funny about stocks? Since we're talking about stocks, you know whose stock went down? CD
ooh,
Project
See,
Red.
project. No, that's a good
That
segue.
shit
That's a good
did.
segue.
That shit
No,
did.
it did. It did. Yeah. Um. Nah, good segue, Shay. But no, honestly, with see, was it was a very faulty launch. You know what I mean? You were talking about Shay was talking about how he played it on PC and it was honestly a better experience. Where they really messed up is how they kept console footage away from us. Console being PlayStation 4, Xbox
Yeah.
One, and even the slightly upgraded versions, which is the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. I played on a PS4 Pro, and it was an absolute disaster. I did not like it. This copy, it's right beside me. It's been collecting dust for like 2 months. I pre-ordered it. I was excited. I grabbed a copy from my father, And ultimately I was disappointed. I was really disappointed because it was so buggy to the point where it just kept crashing. I experienced a crash every single playthrough. It was multiple crashes for that matter. It got to one point, I said it earlier, there's a quest I was supposed to go inside a building. There was no building there. There was just a blank wall, and it got to a point where it didn't even load up. When it did load, the game just instantly crashed. So it was just a wall. Then the wall disappeared, and then there was a cafe with people walking around. I'm like, what? Crash. I'm driving, and obviously when you're driving around, like stuff needs to load even quicker. So it got to a point, there was a car that just popped up from under me, and then my car just started flying off, flipping. Things were all over the place. It was crazy. And it's even to the point where, the game is rated M. There is like nudity in the game, but you don't expect to have issues like a female character's nipples like poking out of a shirt, and I don't know, male genitalia hanging out of a pants and stuff like that. That's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. So it gets to a point where it's like the game was just really faulty. Stuff that wasn't meant to happen happened. Everything under the sun happened that wasn't meant to happen. Yeah. So there's a lot that they promised just beyond the just bugs. There was a lot of features that were supposed to be present within the game that weren't added or may have just been cut last minute. Stuff that they talked about. There was press on this. There was press on certain features.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely got cut last minute because I don't know, because what they promised, it definitely, like, even playing it on PC, it's a way better experience on PC. I'm not gonna lie, like my game hasn't crashed a single time, which is kind of nuts because the whole world is like, it's ongoing. It's like when you walk in a building, click on the door and then it turns into a loading screen and then you have to load into the building. It's like it's all happening,
Mm-hmm.
Sure, there is chunks that are loaded, but it's still like it wasn't as bad as I've seen on console. But I definitely think they downgraded the game, and because like what they like I heard way back when it was getting when it got delayed the first time from April to September. Within that time period, they actually had to downgrade the game because it actually wouldn't run at all because they were running it on some like crazy ass graphics card, So when they finally tried testing it on other smaller computers, like basically what an average person would be able to spend, which is like maybe $1,000, couple thousand, so it just wasn't running because there was so much shit happening that like it was just impossible to run. Like it just wouldn't work. And I can't even imagine what it was on like console back then. Like it must have been absolutely fucked. But like it must have just not even launched the game. Like the game wouldn't even launch.
The best at most it could turn on.
Yeah, honestly, fucking probably. But
Man,
I think I honestly blame the fan base a little bit and the executives, not the developers in any way. Like the developers were just working hard.
Absolutely. They had to crunch and everything.
Yeah. So definitely the execs and a little bit of the fan base, because the fan base put this game on this fucking pedestal in the sky, and they were like, this is the game to save us all. This is like Noah's Ark or some bullshit. And then like, some
it really was hyped up to it was just hyped up to oblivion.
And I felt like the execs definitely fed off of that, and they're like, we need to make this what the people want it to be, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you have to like, you're limited to the technology you have. And they were just trying to do some crazy ass shit, not knowing that a fucking PlayStation is like 6 years old for some goddamn reason. Like, I don't know how they didn't like come to that realization where they're like, wait a second, PlayStation's 6 years old? So it's just, I think, because when the trailer came out, there was a bunch of shit going. They're like, oh yeah, people will be doing this and that, there's schedules for everything. And then another trailer comes out, and half of that shit is missing. Why? Because I feel like they were running it at such, like, on a crazy-ass computer, and then they finally tested out and saw, shit, this won't run. So they had to keep downgrading it. And with coding, when you fuck with something, you know, you might mess up another bit of code. So I feel like every time they were trying to downgrade, they just kept like accidentally fucking shit up.
That's
And
honestly, yeah, that makes sense. And it's scary too because when you create something, then you're basically you're also opening up doors for other bugs and issues.
yeah,
Because even with me learning about rigging with character modeling and whatnot, it's all that rigging is you're setting up, you know, a complex system that can be used by animators. So you're just adding a virtual skeleton. So
yeah,
where where animators are puppeteers, riggers are the puppet makers. They make the entire thing. So if that
yeah,
makes sense. So
yeah,
essentially you're just setting up the systems, but really just bare bones when you're creating a rig for anything that is meant to be animated for, you know, a project, you know, you're opening doors for bugs. And essentially when it comes to a video game for that matter, it's a whole different dynamic, something that I can't imagine right now because I'm not in the video game industry. I like to be. But yeah, it's a lot of bugs, and especially when it's open world, you have a weather what's it called? You have like a dynamic weather system. You know, it might
Mhm.
rain one day. You know, when you play again, it'll be nighttime, it'll be daytime. There might be snow depending on what you play. You know, there's a lot of stuff you need to add. There's a lot of different functions and scripts and different codes that you need to have behave a certain way or something that'll have to be activated at a given time. It's, you know, coding is no joke. This is really, it's very, 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 very complex to the point where, you know, it powers our everyday lives, you know, with our phones, with, you know, even in some cases, how a car can behave because we have a lot of fully electric cars. We have a lot of, you know, systems that we rely on that all run bare bones on code. So obviously, making a video game, it's not, you know, it's not as easy as one, two, three. There's definitely some ones and twos and threes in code, but
yeah,
it's not as simple as, you know, one, two, three, and, you know, easy that a caveman can do it. It's a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, like you said, like the developers are not to blame. It's the execs. You know, Warner Brothers are the publishers. They're the ones that really, you know, I blame them, and I think the execs with CD Projekt Red, the actual development team, you know, I blame the higher ups on this faulty launch. I'm not going to say that the game was an absolute disaster. You know, as bare bones minus all the bugs, I'm sure they patched most of it out, but aside from all that, it could have been a lot more because they really did
yeah,
talk this up to be this amazing, like, oh my god, it's gonna push boundaries, it's gonna raise the bar, when really it seems more generic than ever. It's like, okay, you
yeah,
have certain features, you have your first person shooter, you have a melee system, you have an open world, you have quests, okay, you have some certain dialogue options. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like another Fallout. It sounds like another Bethesda game. It sounds, quite frankly, bro, The Witcher honestly did more, and that came out going on 6 years ago, and they really talked this project up to be, I don't know, this Citizen Kane of gaming. And I've never even watched Citizen Kane, but we hold it to a high regard. Yeah, we hold it to a high regard as far as, oh, this is the highest standard of film. This was supposed
yeah,
to, this, you know, I'm not saying that it was meant to be perfect, but it was meant to apparently really raise the bar, and I was really
yeah,
excited for it. You know, and with it not even being playable, that just ruined it for me. It ruined my
yeah,
impression. The hype is dead. I'm sure at some point CD Projekt Red will, you know, try and focus on adding new features. They have DLC. There's a lot of potential, but it still sounds like it's broken to me. Like it really does. At one point, they did one of their massive patches or whatever, the big patch last month, and I guess it fixed most of the issues, but then there was another bug. There's another bug that broke the game. So that's where I'm like, look, this game is a mess. And
yeah,
the hype is dead to some extent. You know, I'm sure the support is there. The support is there for me. I kept the game, obviously. But I'm like, they're gonna have to do more than just patch it. They're gonna have to actually they're gonna have to improve the actual content and add on to that. Maybe they could actually add what they apparently promised, but they literally have a video and a presentation long before the game even had trailers. They were talking about how they promised certain features and all that. That's all. It's all no. It's most of it's absent. Like bare bones visually, especially on PC, it looks gorgeous. You know, and I'm sure Shay's experience was pretty good. He said he had like 300 plus hours.
Yeah,
So,
I got 300 hours. I had a good
yeah.
time with it, man. It was just, I feel bad for everyone else that, couldn't enjoy the game as much as I did.
Yeah, it.
I mean,
Honestly,
I honestly feel like they should have never given a release date, like at that Xbox E3 or whatever that shit was. They like when Mr. Keanu came out, he should have never said, "Hey, you guys want to see a release date?" I think they should have just pushed him out and said, "Hey, this game's coming out soon" or something. Give people hope, not like, "Hey, it's coming out here," because they delayed it 4 times, and the first time, people were okay with it. People were like, "Okay, we understand. This is a big game," and they delayed it a third time, and people are like, "Okay, that's fucking annoying." And then they delayed it a 4th time, and they're like, "Okay, what the fuck's going on?" So
yeah.
I
2 weeks
I
before release, they
yeah
they delayed it to December
yeah.
like 9th or 10th. I can't remember, but yeah,
But
honestly,
yeah, they should
it
have never given a release date, or they should have given a release date for PC and not consoles. They should have just said consoles. You're gonna have to wait longer because this shit does not work. Like
Yeah,
they should have. I feel like if they would have been honest, they would have received no hate at all. I don't know why they didn't just go through with being honest. To be honest, like, hey, this game is just because they said it in the first delay they said it was a perfect script. They could have just wrote that for fucking PlayStation. Like, hey, this game's a buggy mess and we need to fix it. Like, I respected that. Like, first, like delay. I was like, okay, yeah, you guys need to do what you need to do. Sure, I was like kind of bummed out, but like, this the second or third time, people were goddamn sending like death threats to the goddamn developers. Bro, they're the ones working on the game. If you want to like send something to the executives. They might listen. But but yeah, I just feel like they should have never put out a release date. They should have just been hey, this game's coming out eventually.
Yeah.
People were already waiting for it for like fucking 8 years. Might as well wait for another year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Be better to wait, and then feelings fade. So I mean, all the hate and stuff that it was getting like now or before, like as soon as people got the game and it's a perfect game, then like where's that at now? People just enjoying and sitting at home, eating a bowl of cereal and playing the game, having
like you said, the people that are enjoying it right now are the ones on like PC. Or like there's still like a small finite of fans on like PS5 and PS4. Like I know someone who still plays it on PS4. He like kind of just like pushes himself through the crashes. I don't know how he does it. I wouldn't be able to, but he says honestly my game doesn't crash as much. It honestly might be based on your console as well. Like it is been 6 years. Someone might get their PS4 like a year ago, a brand new PS4. His PS4 still has a little bit of life in it, so. Because mine,
Yeah.
I'll play like the new Modern Warfare from 2019, and bro, if I sit in the loading screen too long, my PS4 crashes. It overheats, and I literally just launched the game. It's insane, and I have a PS4 Pro, so
Definitely. I saw an article. They were saying that like Xbox, you would see more or like NPCs walking around and all that stuff, just because I guess the processor or whatever. But then like PlayStation, it had less people walking around and all that stuff. So definitely, depending on your system will depend on your experience. So
yeah,
PC
Honestly,
rule.
yeah. And PC's always had a hardware advantage, so that's undeniable. Absolutely undeniable. They literally PS5 and the new Xbox went out of their way to emphasize that it's a more PC like experience with higher frame rates and a higher resolution. So that already tells you enough right there. But yeah, Cyberpunk had a very faulty launch, especially for console. There's a lot they kept from us. There's a lot that they didn't include. And yeah, I hope that they bounce back from this. They still have the potential to make another Witcher. The Witcher was a smash hit. I loved the third one. I've told Matthew all about it. I've talked his ear off about it, quite frankly. It honestly, that's still one of my favorite games. I beat it like 3 times, and it's not a short game. hundreds of hours, but it's fun. I grew up playing it. I was like 17, 18 when I played it, but that's just not the feeling that I got with Cyberpunk. It was nothing but instant disappointment, and it was nothing but crashes. It was a lot of potential, but a lot of it wasn't met because of what they kept from us and because of what they easily could have avoided. They could have easily been like, it ain't coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. It's coming out on the newer consoles. But with that, the drawback there is that it's hard to get a PS5. It's a little bit harder to get, a new Xbox because there's a lot of scalpers that are out there, buying up all the inventory and reselling it. It might as well be another hedge fund like stocks, but it's crazy. I'm like, it really is. There's been bad launches all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like it's happened a lot. You just don't expect it to happen with the project, with a team that's had a good track record. That's their first defense, in my opinion. It's weird. It's weird, and I'm sure they can bounce back from it again. It was just such a faulty launch, and it was crazy. So, yeah.
As people continue to wait for Cyberpunk, and people are waiting for Avengers. Let's talk about some Avengers right now. The Crimson Witch and the Crimson Skin Robot, WandaVision. Let's get into it. This man said Lucy.
Oh yeah, he does have that stone in his forehead. It's a diamond. It's like a $25 million diamond, apparently. Crazy.
Bro,
somebody gonna steal that.
Bro,
Thanos his ass.
Yeah, somebody
no. But all right, this is a spoiler talk though. So if you haven't watched any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, if you have not watched WandaVision, if you're not fully caught up, this is the time to leave. So get out of here. 100% spoilers across the board. Get out.
All right. Before Sean says it, the first 2 episodes were shit. They weren't. They were slow and shit. But the third episode,
you need an appreciation. You need an appreciation for talent. That's what the first 2 episodes were. They showed off their acting skills. It wasn't the usual Marvel, but I liked them. I enjoyed the episodes. So
yeah. Whatever, man. The first 2 were super. Just, I'm be honest. I really like the show, but I like the show on episode 3. I think episode 3 is when the show actually started for me, for sure. I really love the show now. So honestly, if you're like me, just skip the first 2 episodes. They're fucking boring as shit.
Don't listen to this man. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I'll partially agree. The first 2 were just slow. I'm not gonna go out of my way and be like they were absolutely terrible, but it did have me wondering where I'm like, this might have lost a lot of people. It definitely. I feel like if they went as far as to do a 2-episode premiere, I feel like they should have just done a 3-episode premiere, because at least with the third one, you're like, oh, it picks up. Just across the board, it picked up. The resolution changed in the show. It was in full color, and it even hinted toward Wanda having her children. And I mean, she ends up giving birth to the children and all that, and you see them a little bit more in the coming episodes. But it's like, yeah, the first 2, I said it before, it really established a sense of mystery, and I liked how it kind of set that tone. Things aren't what they seem, and it did just enough in the first and second episode to the point where I'm like, okay, it was a very slow burn, and despite how each episode was 20 to 30 minutes, I'm like, wow, it felt slower. But I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, it really did. I'm like, wow, it honestly felt like a longer episode, and it's just because they just took their time. They didn't really do too much that kind of broke out of that sort of world that Wanda built. They only did that a little bit more after the 3rd episode, because you saw Monica Rambeau in the 3rd one, and then her getting ejected out, just boom, just thrown clean out.
Bro, let's talk about the fucking shit Vision has to sit through for makeup. That fool, because they'll be filming scenes, and he's going from human to Vision, And I'm like, damn, bro. Per episode, he probably had to sit through like so many fucking hours of makeup.
You
Just
I'm
know,
sure they
like,
probably like record all his like Redskin Vision scenes and then record all his non-Redskin scenes.
maybe, man, maybe.
no, I think they found a way to cut time because I want to say they actually add those tracking points to his face and then just CGI it on to save
Okay.
time on makeup. So at this point, I'm like, I don't think Disney really cares about budget because, I mean, good grief, they've dominated the box office year by year. If it's not with Marvel, then it's with Star Wars. If it's not with Star Wars, then it's with just with Disney in their own
Pixar
property.
films and yeah.
Yep, Pixar, Frozen, the actual Disney Studio stuff with like what was it, Tangled and Big Hero 6, like just the Disney Studio stuff. So I'm like, man, it's crazy.
Walt Disney is living off that money, dude. He's underneath Disneyland in an ice capsule, bro.
I remember hearing that theory that he was like under Disneyland and what's it
He's
called?
under it. I believe it.
It's weird. I'm like,
It's
I
all
hope
that
that
money
I
that's
don't know.
keeping him alive.
It's all the money.
All the money keeping him alive. Look,
If anyone's
heard-
played Fallout New Vegas, you remember Mr. House? He's just Mr. House under Disneyland. That's him.
man. No, but honestly, I'll just get to my like little speculations and not to brush on every single episode. I will just jump to my conclusion and say that I really like the show. It picked up. It was amazing that they put Pietro in there. It's not the MCU version of Pietro, but the fact that they took the 20th Century Fox version, that already confirms that they're allowed to use what they acquired from 20th Century Fox. That means they can add Fantastic Four. They could add the entirety of X-Men. They could add Deadpool. I don't even care what they do. Like, they could literally ignore the entire X-Men timeline, and I'd be like, okay, but that's awesome that they're in this one. I could literally set all that to the side. They were self-aware of the fact that it's the different actors, so I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what the explanation is going to be, but I'm sure they really are going to build to something insane because that's what's kept me invested because the MCU's really pulled off a lot of crazy, just epic stuff with what they had. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, I think that Wanda's gonna become a villain. I think with the confirmed title of the next Doctor Strange film, Multiverse of Madness, I think she could be the main villain. What's it called? The rest of the X-Men could be alluded to. There's a lot that they're doing, but I think that's my number one guess is that Wanda's gonna become a villain, and somehow this whole hex that she managed to expand will end up basically just expanding even further to the point where she's literally going to open up new dimensions because she literally doesn't understand how powerful she is because they even analyze on a molecular level she can alter people, which is insane. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. So even with the clothing changing, but the appearance after it leaves that realm stays the same, but the properties don't change. So that's where I'm like, look, she could end up literally creating anything she wants and sending it out. That already confirms, that theory is already confirmed with Monica Rambeau and her clothing. It was Kevlar clothes and modern Kevlar, the sword clothing she was wearing, and when she got sent out, it was still bulletproof clothing, but it just looked like regular, like 1960s or 70s attire. So that right there, I'm like, if she somehow manages to send Vision out, whether it's what Vision wants or what even her children wants, then that means they're real. So I don't know if they're going to expand on that, but she can create whatever she wants and she could end up becoming a massive problem to the point where she can become a villain. And I'm thinking she's not going to be all out evil, but her selfishness is what is kind of securing my speculations because she knew what she just did. She literally stopped time and boom, and she got everybody like run. Like everybody was just going off. Like I'd be scared out of my mind too, or just like, yo, I can't control myself if I'm stuck in there. We already know what we kind of know what's going on, but not entirely. So yeah, fearing the unknown. and it's crazy.
I want a director's cut of that scene where they both got angry and they're both arguing. I want a director's cut of like Vision, like you know, getting violent. You know, you know, it'll really show the back in the 1970s. People were still hitting women.
Pow,
No.
right in the kisser.
Yeah, pow,
No.
stuff like that. They want to
Nah.
keep it realistic, and then have the kids like sitting on the stairs, like looking through the little bars, like, oh my god, dad just hit mom, like, and then like the neighbors, the neighbors see the Wanda next day with a black eye. And they're like, what happened? Like, oh, I ran into a door.
Nah, I'm glad they didn't do that. So nah, but at the same time, like,
yo, Disney, give my director's cut. I'll pay for it.
No, it's definitely with that scene, like the actual scene where Vision's getting upset though, that was a really good performance because you could tell that he's confused, he's frustrated, and he just wants to know the truth because he understands that he's the love of Wanda's life and all that. But he also is like, you're keeping something from me and I'm getting really angry. Like, I want to, like, you're lying to me and you feel like you know what's best for me. Like, you have to let me think for myself too. Because technically, Vision, he's extremely intellectual. He's extremely intelligent. He's not even a human. He's an android. Or, yeah, he's like a robot, basically. So I'm like, it's insane. So him even learning for a split second, he didn't really learn much detail, but him learning that he died at one point is also, he's just like, what are you talking about? Like, you could tell he's just so confused. So him taking a break and just leaving the household, just like, yeah, Wanda, I'm out. Pietro, you can watch the kids. Like, I need.
Honestly, maybe he becomes the villain, you know what I mean? Maybe he becomes the villain where he like freaks out at Wanda and then just he's like, you brought me back from the dead? And then starts freaking out and shit like that. Like, I don't know, you let me die, get all like overreact and shit and then get all angry and then, I don't know, become a villain or something.
Yeah.
Or what's it called? Shit. Fuck, I actually forgot what I was going to say. Never mind.
All right, then I'll take over from there since you forgot. But from my speculations, definitely those kids, they are not staying. As soon as the walls come down, kids are gone. You feel me? Like, they're like, I feel like in a illusion maybe of sorts that she created for herself. Like, the whole pregnancy happened in less than 9 hours, I would say. Like, literally the same day she got checked and said, oh, you're pregnant. Like, literally like 6 hours later, she's giving birth. And off that, like, definitely, I feel like, emotionally, Wanda she won't be a villain, but she'll definitely be looked at. I feel like, okay, you done this, like, you crazy, you need to get out of here, you will never be an Avenger again type stuff. So definitely have to keep watching and pay attention for that, for sure.
Yeah. But as far as like how the rest of the season is gonna go, it's all just speculation. So we definitely have to tune into the remaining episodes. Apparently there's going to be 9 in total, so we're going to have 3 more left. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot that they'll pull off with a third one, and I'm sure they'll hint to a lot more because we also have Falcon and Winter Soldier coming out on the 19th of March. So that's in a matter
that one looks pretty tight.
That's like close to a month,
yeah, that's a month and some change. So that right there, I'm excited for. I'm sure they'll expand.
Honestly, all I live for is like the end credit scenes. I don't even watch the Marvel movies to watch Marvel movies. I just watch it for the end credit scenes.
Just to see what's gonna come next. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that's what they're
gonna
do. Yeah, I feel like that's what I can't wait to see this one. And if they don't have one, I'm be fucking pissed. I'll write a bad review if they don't add one. I'll be pretty pissed. I'll talk bad.
I haven't seen. I think they'll do that. The same thing they did with. Y'all watch The Mandalorian at all or catch?
Yeah, they did like
only the first season.
Bro, that season finale was tight.
Yeah, all I will say, they did do a end credit scene.
Yeah.
With the Mandalorian, they did hint to something. That's what they always do, though. They always hint to something greater. They even did that with the Avengers. So I'm sure. I'm guessing on the season finale or just at
Yeah,
the end
season
of
finale
WandaVision.
episode. Yeah.
They'll hint to something, or I don't even think they have to do an end credit scene. They could probably just do a crazy finale because I mean they already had. They already have the budget. They have
I want
more.
someone to die. I'm more of a I'm a rated R
Oh
guy. I want
no.
someone to
You're one of
die.
those people that doesn't feel you don't feel satisfied unless there's stakes and then someone has to die and it's like okay, well
Someone
we
has
lost
to
somebody.
die.
Yeah.
What if
Honestly.
Vision? That's what I'm saying. Like Vision, maybe I'm telling you, Vision is gonna get so upset he finally hits Wanda, but accidentally kills her, dude. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna
Okay,
be like
I don't think he would hit her that hard. Like I feel like if anything, he might die when the walls come down because like when you see him going out the bubble and then like he's like getting pulled apart and all that stuff. Like I feel like he's only alive because he's in her world. Like otherwise, like he goes back to a dead robot corpse.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's because of the red bubble, though. Remember, she added a red bubble because it was blue before, but
Right.
then when she turned it red, I feel like that made it like no one can leave and no one can come in type shit.
Yeah.
So like if you try to leave, you get all fucked
Court-martial.
up. Yeah, like distorted or whatever. Fuck, what was I gonna say earlier, dude? I had a good one.
Nah.
It's probably about Vision beating Wanda again. Never mind.
Nah, that
Your fantasies, man.
nah, Wanda is too
Who's that,
powerful.
Sam?
She could rip. If anything, it'll be Wanda beating Vision. Let's be real.
Mhm.
Unless because Vision technically doesn't even know who he is, so he probably doesn't fully realize what he's capable of. But he can shoot like the beam. He can. Well, who knows? That would be a pretty crazy battle. Because even with Vision getting irate and floating off the ground, like Vision's pretty powerful. So it's
What
like,
if it all comes back to him? Thanos ripping out his fucking like head, and he does it himself. He's like, maybe I was meant to die, and then he just grabs his fucking stone and just Uzi verts it and just takes it out, dude.
who
And then
knows?
she's like,
To end it all.
yeah, maybe he just fucking.
Nah. But honestly, yeah, the WandaVision, it has a lot of potential to set up more, just more. It just has potential to set up more. That's really the best way to put it. And we don't even know how it's going to end yet. So
I'm placing my bets. I'm saying they're gonna pull a rated R at the end season finale. It's gonna get crazy. I mean, it's obviously gonna be like
Man,
PG-13.
This is Disney Plus. What are you thinking? This ain't HBO Max. What do you think? They
but
got kids watching this.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm placing bets.
they
though.
did
Like,
they did make
someone
some they made some bold decisions with that whole what's it called, with Wanda seeing like just literally you could see Vision's like dead self walking towards her. I'm like, okay, that's creepy.
Yeah, and
And
Pietro
then
with the bullet holes. Yeah.
that was crazy too. So I'm like, okay, this has to be the same Pietro, but maybe I don't know, with that whole theory of things being changed as you come and go inside the hex. That's probably I don't even know. I have no idea how Pietro is even alive. So
I mean, it's a multiverse. The whole thing about the Marvel universe is like it's a multiverse. So like, there's like 20 different Spider-Mans and 20 different Iron Mans, shit like
certain
that.
things happen, in a similar fashion, but other set different sort of brand, like the butterfly effect, in a way where it's just like, who knows? Yeah, because just like the multiverse, you had like almost all the Spider-Man lost someone dear to them, and it's led to them making that pivotal decision to become a spider person. Because I mean, there are different female. There are Spider Women too. You had Gwen Stacy. You had the one girl from Tokyo, I think, with the mech suit, and she was bonded to a spider. That was dope. I'm like, that was such an anime thing. I'm like, yo, if that's like an actual comic series, I might need to check that out. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure all of them were real. I mean, well, I know all of them were real because Noir was in there. That was really cool. Noir probably had the darkest one because literally his Uncle Ben or it was I forgot who it is. Noir. I can't remember. I think Noir was actually
the fact that Black Noir
Norman.
was fucking the fact that Black Noir was fucking Nicolas Cage was the fucking funniest thing to me.
Maybe even better.
That was cool. But no,
and speaking of Nicolas Cage, he's in debt to the IRS. You guys know that? You guys know
Yeah,
that? He's in debt
yeah.
to the IRS. He bought fucking dragon, or not dragon, but dinosaur bones and fucking
Dragon Ball.
dinosaur. Yeah, freaking
No.
dinosaur bones and eggs and shit. And he bought a fucking medieval castle, and now he's in debt to the IRS. Fucking hilarious.
Man,
Hope they catch
no,
him.
that's funny. But honestly, with Spider-Man and well, we have the new Spider-Man coming out. That's still technically in the MCU right now.
How do you guys feel
But,
about this Tom Holland guy? I like the Tom Holland guy.
I'm fine with Tom Holland.
Pretty
honestly.
good.
I've never
Tobey
had an
Ma-
issue with any of them.
I had an issue with the middle one. I didn't like that Andrew
Garfield?
guy. Yeah, I don't
Here's the
like
thing:
that
like
guy.
Andrew Garfield was actually his performance was good. I blame Sony for how bad the second one was, though. But other than that, with WandaVision, though, honestly, I don't even know. I'm so just my mind is all over the place because they're doing so much with Wanda's powers and what the Vision is like, you know, really starting to discover with his resurrected self and her children and Pietro. I'm like, this whole thing is starting to become chaotic to the point where I'm like, yeah, it's bound to happen where there's gonna be some huge sort of setup to something greater. So I really don't know.
Definitely. Gotta stay tuned for WandaVision and stay tuned for O.D.W.s. But
For
I
sure.
guess
Yeah,
on
place your
that note,
bets.
Yeah.
comment
what-
below whether you're Marvel or DC fan. We want to hear it. We want some debate, discussion. You know, I'm all Marvel over here. Team Marvel. That's where it's at. But
Yeah, I'm more on the Marvel side, but DC has some amazing
I
stories.
like Batman. I'm a Batman
of course. Yeah.
they've done too much for Batman. He needs. The
Yeah.
other characters need some love.
No.
Nah. Well,
Batman
nope.
is king.
Shay, we gonna end it here.
Yeah. Speaking of love, Happy Valentine's Day. Depending on when you're watching this, you know, enjoy
Hey.
yourself, enjoy someone else. Just show love for free. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Yeah.
Nah.
Peace. Y'all have a good one.